One time. All right, man. We don't do this often. Well, thank God. But let's say goodbye to a legend. And we're here. It was announced yesterday that Black Dahlia murder vocalist Trevor Strnad passed away. It was sudden. No one really knew anything about it or saw it coming, and they didn't give a cause of death. They just put the suicide prevention hotline at the bottom of the post. So it kind of implies what happened to him. I don't want to speculate more on that. I don't. I know some people online are saying um, insensitive things or want to know how, and it really doesn't matter. We lost a legend, dude. The thing that bothers me the most is like I'm probably a casual Black Dahlia Murder fan. Like there's a couple albums I think are really good and stuff, and like this dude was like such a patriot for the metal scene. He was always like a champion underground bands and trying to showcase them and talk about them. He was a total horror movie nerd. Every Black Dahlia album is like a horror movie essentially. It's a big loss, and it it kind of compiles into the losses that we've had this year with Tim Ferrick of Dance Gavin Dance, Keaton Pierce of Too Close to Touch. It's just all this is hitting close to home, man. It's sad. It's shitty. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, and let's not forget about Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters, right? Like
Of
that's
course.
something that unfortunately like an overdose, but we never enjoyed doing this, and uh it's never fun. This one hurts particularly because it is Black Dahlia, it is our scene. Um, I'm a huge Black Dahlia Murder fan. I made it through Miasma, Nocturnal, made it through couple different albums yesterday just to have to listen to it one last time as it's fresh, I guess. And I made a comment to you yesterday where I'm not surprised if there was anybody that I think was very outspoken about his feelings and his outlook on life and what he thought it really was. It's Trevor. It was pretty well known. He did some podcasts and was pretty outspoken about his mental health and some issues that he was dealing with. um, a particular one that stands out to me is he was on the Metal Injection podcast maybe about a year and a half ago. And he was talking about how the previous years were a struggle for him, especially the pandemic going into the isolation, and he's at the forefront of the band. Like you said, he's always been the champion of the band and the champion of the metal community, and he's at the forefront of the band and the social media. And he said that he got a lot of that, the brunt of it, and he said it really really impacted him. And for a moment in that interview he highlights that he doesn't necessarily say online bullying, but he mentions several times the hate and the just shitting on by people on the internet, and how he's exposed to all of it. And he directly says that it has a strain on your mental health, and it really puts him in a self-deprecating place. And he already has these outspoken views about the world and what it is and what it feels like being in it. And it sucks because in that interview he says that he's been getting better and that um, he's been working on himself, and he finally felt like he was in a place where he was happy. And we talked about this a couple episodes ago, joking, hey, Special K, ketamine. And we were joking about how it's a party drug, and I had mentioned that it's used as a therapy, right? He was actually doing ketamine therapy, and he talks about that in the Metal Injection interview. He was talking about how he was doing ketamine therapy for his depression and for his anxiety that he was dealing with, and he said that it was helping him. He said that he was finally in a place where he felt he was on the uptick, and this is just a year and a half ago, and we don't really know, like Matt says, what the stipulations going into this event were, and where he was at. And you know obviously the last
Something
couple of
something
years
I
have been hard for us.
realized sorry to interrupt, but this something I realized that we just read with like Naomi Judd recently is dead by suicide as well.
Mhm.
And something that was stated there is that Ashley Judd was saying that she couldn't process the love that people around her had for her. And that's
Mhm.
something that like maybe that's what's going on here. It's like as much as you want to be there for your friends, there's something that doesn't click for them to understand and process that, and so they still feel alone. I'm not making excuses, and I don't know what happened with Trevor, but like that's just fascinating to me that that could be, you know, as much as we want to be there for a friend and have compassion, that it's still like it could be something mental. It could be something that they need to get. I don't know. Go to the
I
hospital, get checked on.
I mean, we want that to be the solution, right? And I think that, I personally, we both personally have friends that have dealt with these issues, and I have had more than a couple conversations with a friend or so, about death and their life and the fragility of it, and you know, uh, talk some people off some ledges, so to speak, figuratively. And I think that when you're in this kind of state, it is something real hard. And that's not to say that people can't get out of it. That's not to say that people can't get over depression, and the result isn't always suicide. But there are a certain people out there that think that that's the way. And for whatever reason, yeah, maybe they can't, maybe they, you know, who knows what they're thinking, what they're feeling, how they process things, how they absorb information, and how that correlates in their brain. And who knows, maybe they're not getting, I do know from experience and from just absorbing myself, is people that go through these means to try to find help, these therapies, seeing a psychiatrist, a therapist, these, and ketamine, this is a new treatment that is being done, right? Just like it's an experimental treatment in a lot of ways, but people are going to these lengths for something. It's clear that he was really trying to find peace and to find happiness from his interviews and from recent views of his personal life over the last couple of years. And yet this is still the outcome. So you have to think that he was trying, at least. you know People were obviously there to help him, right? He obviously has a support system, and that's one of the most important things in this journey of trying to figure out a solution, or a means in all this mess. But sometimes that's still not enough, unfortunately.
Let's
And
check out the announcement they posted. It is with deep sadness that we announce the passing of Trevor Scott. Am I getting this right? Because I'm a jackass. Sternad, right?
I believe it's Strnad, yeah.
Sternad.
Sternad,
Okay.
yeah, but still
Sternad.
went
Yeah,
with.
Trevor Scott
Yeah.
Sternad. Beloved son, brother, and shepherd of good times. He was loved by all that met him. A walking encyclopedia of all things music. He was a hugger, a writer, and truly one of the world's greatest entertainers. His lyrics provided the world with stories and spells and horror and whimsy. It was his life to be your show. And then you see there, as we're kind of blocking it, the
We have
National
the
Suicide
ticker.
Prevention
Yeah.
Lifeline.
Oh, I also added the ticker. Yeah, yeah, okay,
Yeah, that
cool.
was crazy. You added it, and
Uh,
I added it, and then we got it double
it's
added. So it's just crazy.
so and
Is that?
that post for me speaks a lot, because that's what a lot of I think that's where the shock in a lot of this comes from, is when we listen to Trevor's lyrics, and obviously the theatrics to Black Dahlia, and how just truly black metal they are. A lot of their stuff is
It's just death
it is
metal.
fantasy. Yeah, it's fantasy and grotesque, and it is clearly uh meant to be provocative. It's meant to be something that is shocking, and but it's also taken, I think, from a lot of the perspectives of the fan base as just that. It's meant to be this, right? It's meant to be theatrical. It's meant to be a little uh uh over the top, right? But you have to now reflect on the lyrics of Black Dahlia, and think that there's a little bit of something in there that Trevor was letting out, right? I think he was probably speaking to some things in these lyrics, as dark and twisted and as fantasy like as they were. It There's obviously something there, and that just makes this hurt even more, man. Unfortunately.
So have you seen them live before?
Oh, several times, several times.
The first time I saw them live was 2008 when they headlined Summer Slaughter. It was
Mm-hmm.
just that was such a wicked show. Um, they
Man.
they headlined among like a bunch of death metal bands, and I always put them as like they're the epitome of death metal. Like they were
Oh,
famously known to like be anti breakdown. They're just like they want to shred everything's death. All the shirts are cool as fuck. The artwork matters. Just all that.
I
And
will. I'm sorry. Go on.
I mean, I just always put them on that like that pedestal of like death metal. Like they're that band, and they're our generation. You know, from like
Oh,
the 2000s and up is when that
I'm
band was
gonna
formed and active. It's like we got to ride with them.
I'm gonna give it to you right now. I'm gonna give you my little Black Dahlia introduction in history. So shout out to Alex. I'm sorry I don't know your last name, and it's tripping on me, but he was a coworker and he went to school with us. And
Son of a bitch, you're high.
when I worked at Good Stuff Pizza, do you remember that, Matt? Worked at Good Stuff Pizza in La
Oh,
Quinta, and I had just like gotten my guitar sophomore year of high school or whatever, and was jamming. And this kid Alex that I worked with also worked there at Good Stuff, and he had a T-shirt with a Tommy gun on it, and it said Black Dahlia Murder on it. And I go, "Yo, what is that?" And he goes, "Oh, you have to listen to him." And he gave me like a bird CD, of course. And I went home and it was Miasma, and I fucking listened to it, and it was fucking dope. Or no, I don't even think, I think it was the Unhollowed, because Miasma was '05. So fast, this was like
Nocturnal.
'04. No,
Nocturnal is that's
Nocturnal was
my shit though.
Nocturnal was 2007. So
That's my
Unhollowed
shit.
was their first like EP underground album, right? It wasn't even an EP; it was a full album, but they didn't weren't really known. And then Miasma was 2005, and that was the big one, Statutory Ape and all that shit, right? And so 2004, I'm working at the pizza place. I get this Unhollowed. I'm like, oh, this is legit. This is at the time for sure the like blackest metal I'm listening to, right? The heaviest shit. And I go to Ozfest the next year, 2005, fucking Black Dahlia Murders on Ozfest for '05, and they fucking killed it. And I was like, I love this band. This is a band that I fucking like. Death metal at the time wasn't, black metal wasn't my shit really, right? Post hardcore, metalcore, As Lay Dying. That's metal as I'm getting. These guys fucking tore it up. I ended up seeing them headline Sounds of the Underground in 2007. These guys have just, from the get go, right out of the gate, have been a staple band. And this one for us, because you're right, it is our generation. This is our band. You know, I think Chester from Linkin Park was one of the first like real ones where I cried and was like, man, this really, really sucks. This is up there, man. You know, this one's bumming me out because we're
Favorite
never
Black
gonna get
Dahlia
it.
murder. Favorite Black Dahlia
Nocturnal.
murder songs or albums.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, Nocturnal is probably my. I mean, Miasma is obviously fucking great. Uh, I will say that there's a fitting lyric, dark divine, I believe it is, or darkness divided. Um,
Darkness.
yeah, I can figure it out, but the daggers have been drawn. Uh, the dance of death, how sweet she is. We will drink to victory, or something like that. And I feel that that's a fitting fucking lyric because, you know, man, we're never gonna get another Black Dahlia album.
I
We're
mean, yeah,
never
definitely,
gonna get
definitely
another
not like that because
solid.
I don't see that band going on anymore. Nocturnal's my shit. When everything went black and What a Terrible Night to Have a Curse tracks 1 and 2, it
I mean,
just bangs.
Statutory Ape, yeah, Statutory Ape, Fool 'Em All. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Ritual's a good
fucking great.
album. Ever Black is really good.
Ever Black,
It's
yes, yes.
it's kind of funny because I gave Verminous like a bad review on this show in 2020.
I mean,
I remember that.
they were. I mean, to say that they were progressing their sound, getting, we disputed on that because you didn't like it, and I was like, bro, what do you expect? They're still fast. They're still doing new shit. They're not changing their sound, but they're still fucking shredding new riffs and doing great shit. And like, that's what sucks, man. Every Black Dahlia Murder album was exciting. Like, even if you're not playing it constantly, right? A fucking Black Dahlia playthrough is still a great album playthrough. Any of their albums, their songs are so good, and like, that's what's so dark about this, man, because there was such an excitement and such a, at least for me, I got excited for a BDM album. And you know, it's because of that. It's the theatrics, the lyrics, you don't know what he's going to do vocally, you don't know what they're going to do musically, you don't know exactly what you're getting out of an album, but you know it's going to be a Black Dahlia album. And man,
Suicide is no joke. You never know what a person's going through, so check on your friends, hug your friends. You know.
And let this be let this be for me, it's we need to also pay attention to those that are suffering from depression and all that, obviously, but I mean, that's not to say everyone's going to get fixed and everyone's going to get helped, and we need to understand the process people are going through and the struggles people are going through to hopefully be able to help them better. We got to understand it better because they want help, it seems. And